I reject the premise that quote unquote illegal immigrants are taking jobs away from black people. I reject.
What?
Systematically that are set up so that we as black people have a harder time succeeding economically, and it's embedded and bred into our culture. And so when we talk about fatherlessness, that's a byproduct of a number of different issues. But if we had the economic power that many of our counterparts enjoy in this country, some of the issues that we face, we wouldn't have those.
Officer Tatum, you want to weigh in on this topic?
Yeah, I think that a lot of our issue comes from right here in the mind. And I would say that leads from the lack of education. The reason we vote the way we do is from a lack of education. The reason that we think, and no disrespect to the young lady, that we think that somehow our issues are external is a lack of education and knowledge. I honestly believe that we are the arbiters of our success. If we have problems in the inner city communities, we have to look in the mirror first. We have to look in the mirror first. Because on this panel, I highly...
So one thing the woman brought up that stuck out to me was the economics of it, and that's what I was doing. I was just looking up. I'm like, are we economically challenged in this country? And I looked it up, and I don't know. I'm not in the field of the world. But it says we spend $1.4 trillion a year. The black consumer spends 1.4 as a whole. So that means like black people in America, we're like our own little country, if you really think about it. Like in terms of how we spend on consumer goods, we basically can make our own like country just based on how much money we spend. So when you say we're economically challenged, I don't necessarily think that's the root cause. I think when it comes to economics, we just spend money as a culture or as a whole differently. Like we obviously have it to spend. We spend $1 trillion. That's more than several smaller countries in the world. So it's just like, what are we buying with it? Like, are we buying assets? Are we buying liabilities? What are we doing with the money we have?
Doubt that anybody on this panel is affected by systemic issues and the systematic oppression.
That's not true.
I said I highly doubt that none of us are affected. I'm a successful black man. I got an education. I own my own business. I employ black people in my business, and I pay them very well. Why? Because they're qualified. They do what it takes. They come, they interview, and I give them opportunities, and that beget other opportunities. So I honestly think that the person in the mirror is the biggest, problem or success factor in the black community.
The other day, I was reflecting on my grandmother, and I was raised by my grandmother, my maternal grandmother. Both my parents were incarcerated on the federal level when I was approximately 5 years old. And I thought about something. My grandmother told me one day, she said, "Do you know that you are the first generation that was born free in this country?" I said, "What do you mean by that?" She said, "You were born in late 1970s. And I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, when I was born one generation from a descendant of a slave. When your mother was born, she was born in Jim Crow. And so I was the first generation that was born fully free in this country." Why am I bringing that up? I'm glad that you asked that question. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because we are not too far removed from the institutional racism as it relates to signs, as it relates to legislation, etc., that keeps people like you, like me, like her, and like you, successful brother, in bondage.
Can I jump in on this real quick?
Brandon, before you do.
And let me say this, even though you were the first generation, look at how much you've been able to accomplish. How much barriers do you have if you've been able to accomplish so much and you're only the first generation?
Well, let me tell you about my barriers.
So
as a felon, as a person with a felony conviction.
Let me just.
I can tell you about my barriers. There are more than 46,000 collateral consequences to one felony conviction in the United States of America.
What did you do? What did you do to go to jail?
I was involved in criminal enterprising.
There you go. So. Let me just say this. The reason that I say that is because it's the same person in the mirror. The justice system, the white man, systemic racism, none of that had anything to do with the reason why you went to prison.
Nah, I didn't get actually.
The reason I have a problem with these type of arguments is because this dude is on the stage. He's wearing like a baby blue polo limited edition sweater. He's a past felon, and he's obviously extremely successful. I'm pretty sure everyone on this stage has a good amount of success because they are hosting their own panel. So when you come on stage and be like, yeah, we're so, I guess, oppressed or whatever in the United States, it kind of makes it feel like you yourself, you're just so above everyone else that you're oppressed, but like you're just so smart or resilient that no matter what happens to you personally, you're gonna be good. Like you're gonna get a Gucci sweater, a polo sweater regardless. Like you're gonna be straight. But your culture, they're oppressed. But me personally, like I'm a convicted felon. Not me. But he's saying like he's a convicted felon. But he's still successful, and he was able to do it, but everyone else isn't able to do it. And the reason I have a problem with that is because it kind of puts yourself on like this weird little pedestal. You're saying that you're able to do it, although you face challenges, but others aren't able to do it, even though they face the same challenges. But you're just so, I guess, above them in a way. I don't know. It just kind of rubs me the wrong way because you're successful. It'd be different if you weren't successful and you're just on stage like saying like I'm not able to do it no matter what, but you are. So what? Like it really rubs me the wrong way. I don't even know if I'm explaining this right.
You get prosecuted by a white man. I got prosecuted by a black prosecutor. I got prosecuted by a black. I got sentenced by a black judge. This wasn't about white. This wasn't about black.
Hang on one second.
The system in and of itself, I'm telling you, the reason why you went there and I didn't is because decisions that you made and I didn't make those decisions. And the reason why you're successful now are the positive decisions that you made learning from the experience. Those are decisions that you're making are the arbiters of your success. It has nothing to do with these external factors. You were able to get out of prison, have the experience, and now you're able to free other people. In America, you can do that. In other places, I can't attest to that. But America forced that opportunity. There's no systems that have stopped you, have it? I think that is damaging now by having diversity, inclusion, and all that stuff. What it does is it separates us.
What?
It really does. It separates us because
you don't want people to know about our culture.
I am an entrepreneur. I hire people for a living. I do not discriminate against individuals who come to my workforce. If I have qualified black people, I'm going to hire qualified black people. What we should be focusing on is having them qualified instead of just giving them a handout because we need to reach numbers.
That was an interesting point because I'm currently, y'all already know, I'm currently in school right now. And when I hear diversity, equity, inclusion, like that's really like big in schools and stuff like that. So my ideas is a little different from his. I do think diversity is good in a workforce, and the reason I think it's good is probably that's not something y'all like think, not for the reasons y'all think. I think it's good because you have a diverse set of thinking. You have different ways of viewing the same problem, and the reason I think this is important is because you can't always be one-sided on a specific issue. Let's say it's a project that you want to solve. It's a group project. Every member of the group. The reason I think diversity is important is because every member of the group is going to look at it differently. But my view of diversity isn't necessarily about race or gender necessarily. It's just the way you think. That's why I think diversity in a workplace is important. I look at it as to what is your mindset. When it comes to inclusion regarding specific races or specific genders, and there's like a specific quota you have to meet no matter what, that's when I think it becomes a little problematic because it's not even about, at that point, it's not even about qualifications. It's more so about you need to reach your 20% quota of black people for this company or 19.5% quota of women for this company. And it's not really it's kind of doing people a disservice, to be honest. And it builds a lot of tension within the workforce, in my opinion. I do think, though, like it should be a good amount of women or men or whatever because people think differently. Like I think people think differently. I'm not saying like every job should have 20%, but I think in some cases it's it makes sense to have different ways of different ways of thinking. But that's more about like your qualifications. That's not really about race or gender.
We need young. This is the problem that's happening. I'm gonna shut up. I promise. The problem that's happening is that we're not focused on making sure these young people are successful coming out of school. They're prepared to go to work. They're prepared to interview. We're not prepping them there. We want to go on the back end and say, well, I have 10 white people, I need 3 more black people, I'm just gonna hire them because we need to meet a quota. That's not the way to do it, because they come, they're unprepared, and they're not gonna be successful. What we need to do is help them on the back end, make sure they're successful and prepared, send them out in the workforce where they are competitive, and therefore they can compete just like everybody else.
I was raised by a single parent, and I feel that I'm considered one of the people that is successful when we talk about, what success looks like within the black community. But even still, even being raised, in a single family, being educated, having a successful job, a successful career, I still understand that there are systematic things in this country that are against me. And I don't care how people look at that.
One.
I look in the banking. I talked about that earlier. The ability to
For you.
For me, I'm saying banking, yes, specifically. So just to give you a real life example, in 2020 during the pandemic, I went to my bank. I have good credit. I've paid back my student loans. I, don't have any outstanding debt to income ratio, and I could not get $60,000. And I asked my bank, why was I denied a person who has A1 credit, don't have any student loans? I have, 2 or 3 properties. Why am I being denied a $60,000 personal loan? And you know what?
They said because you're black?
They didn't give me an answer.
But how do you know it's because you're black?
What I'm saying.
And here's my problem with like arguments like this, because, for example, this woman, I don't know her, and I'm not even going to try to pretend like I know her life. I don't. It might as well have been racism. But the reason I don't like examples like this is because when, let's say, a young black person is watching this, or a young person is watching this of a minority group, and they look up to you. It's a young black girl who probably looks up to you watching this. They're like, wow. So if I get denied, let's say from a college or a specific loan opportunity, they'll be like, wow. So it's probably because I'm black. They're not going to put the personal blame on themselves. They're going to put it on their skin color. And that, to me, is going to do more harm than good. Rather than trying to figure out, wow, why was I denied from it? Is my income too low? Do I have other properties that are too high? Did I just get a loan too recent? Is my loan too recent? Is my credit history too short? Is my credit score too low? Is my bank just not giving out these big of loans right now because of the pandemic? Like, you're not looking at those reasons. You're looking at, wow, I'm black. And when somebody watches this who is younger than you, who looks at you as a role model, and they hear this, they're kind of going to carry around the same line of thinking as you. So every time something doesn't go their way, they're not going to consider the personal choices they've made. They're not going to consider the economic stance of the world right now. They're going to look at, wow, it's just because I'm black. And that, to me, does more harm than good.
Thing is,
wait a
minute. There are
How
no
do you know
indicators.
it's because of the color of your skin?
What I'm saying is there are no indicators for why I should have been denied. That's what I'm saying.
Do you know that any white people have been denied with the same qualifications?
I don't know, because I didn't go out and poll white people.
There's no way.
This isn't a conversation about white people. This is a conversation about me.
No, but there's no way.
You're acknowledging a hindrance. You're acknowledging a hindrance to
Yes, I'm acknowledging a hindrance in what you're considering to be a successful person, doing what they're supposed to do, going out and working, having good credit, paying their bills on time, and still being denied with no reason given.
As a black
person.
That's what
as a
you're
black
saying
person.
That happened to you.
But this type of stuff happens to white people too, or it happens to Asian people too, or whatever. It just happens. Like, sometimes life is just unpredictable. Like, even if you do the right thing at the right time, y'all know sometimes things just don't work out. Like, you can get straight A's all throughout school, you can have perfect SAT scores, and that still doesn't guarantee you get into an Ivy League. And you can have good credit. Good is subjective. I don't know what good means, but you can have good credit, you can have a good debt to income ratio, and you can still get denied $60,000. It's $60,000. It's not a $2,000, $3,000 loan. It's a $60,000 loan. As an individual, that's already hard to get, especially if you're trying to get it from a smaller bank. What if they don't have $60,000? 2020 was a very crazy year in the country. Like, So if it's a small local bank, they probably don't have it. It could be anything. It could be anything. So that's all I'm trying to say. Interest rates in 2020 was like 1-2%. They're probably thinking, wow, I probably won't even make that much off of giving you $60,000. Rather, when I could have gave you 4% interest, now based off your credit, I'm giving you a 1% interest, and we as a bank can't afford that right now, so we can't give it to you. It can literally be anything. So stop trying to blame your race specifically on things like this, especially if you haven't looked into it, bro. That's all I'm trying to say.
I'm saying
Because
that
you were
happened
black.
to me. What I'm saying is,
It
yes,
happened.
I'm saying it happened.
Okay.
And I happen to be black, yes.
Alea, I want to talk about
But wait
immigration.
a minute, I'd like Brandon to respond to that. I see you sat back, you're frustrated.
Listen,
I'd like you to respond.
I will.
Yeah.
You got 2
Listen,
minutes.
2 minutes. All I want to say is that I can fight with you if we have evidence. If you went to the bank and you have evidence that they've been giving loans to people with equal qualification as you have, and because you being black, they denied you, let's go to the bank and let's show up. Let's pull up. Okay. But the thing is that it's not fair to make that determination without unequivocal facts, because what it does is it generates this idea that it's because you're black. There may be something or that you could have changed on you when you made the application or not that could have caused you to get the loan. There are some educational points there that could have been effective, but you can't just say it's your race, because then you're telling the next young person and the next young black person, and before you know it, they don't even give it a try.
That's what
when
I
you're
just
saying
said.
something that's not verified.
No,
And that's what I just said. Like, I'm young and black. Like, I know how these young people think. If you're out here saying stuff like this, it's not helping the youth. I am the youth, so I would know.
I'm not saying. I'm gonna let you get your applause. What I'm saying is the same grace that you're asking me to give the bank and saying that maybe it didn't happen because I'm black, I'm asking for that same grace to say that that absolutely could have been a qualifier in their decision to deny me, but they didn't give me that information. And so the same way that I'm making an example that we don't know. So
It could have
just
been
as you're
because you were
saying,
female.
Like
could have been because of
Brandon,
anything.
You don't
It
know.
could have been
I don't know
it
because
could have
you
been
know
the-
what? They didn't give me the information.
It could have been.
It could have been because you're single. Like, it could have been anything. It could have been because of the climate the country was in 2020. It could have. That's what I'm saying. It could have been anything. And you saying like, oh nah, it's because I'm black.
Jealous of you. They see you
It
come
could've
in
been
looking
anything.
nice. They be hating on you. It could have been hating. It could have been because you're a
Hates
woman.
do
It could have
not
been
like
because.
pink.
Who
I
knows?
have
What I'm
the facts
also
on
just
that.
asking you to consider is that it also could have been my race. That's
I-
all I'm asking
I do.
you to consider.
I know,
I'm
I do.
asking you to
I
consider
got 2
that as
minutes.
well.
I think that that's fair to consider that, and I will. But we cannot make the determination, right? But we'll consider it. You know, in this country, if black people, if we're caring about what our efforts are and our effectiveness in this country is, if we get overtaken by people who shouldn't even be in this country, that didn't fight to belong in this country, didn't die, didn't shed blood, wasn't in the Civil War, wasn't a slave in this country. The law wasn't even prepared for people to come here illegally. It was prepared for black people who belong here. If we get overtaken by them, then what are we gonna do? We're having abortions at a crazy rate. Therefore, we're not populating. We're at 12%. We're probably at 11% of the population. If there are 60% of the population, when we show up to vote, what kind of power you think we're gonna have? And they came here illegally. Their ancestors were not here. They didn't go through the struggle. They didn't go through Jim Crow. You got to get in line and do it the right way. And you're not going to thwart opportunities for black people in this country. And if anybody cares about opportunities for black people, and they're saying they're not afforded these opportunities, they're getting taken away from them, this is one of the points that we should all be in unison on.
And this is what I be saying. Like, we be getting tricked out of our tricked out of our spot, bro. Like, we are denouncing our own country. Meanwhile, other people are looking at us like, yeah, I hope y'all do denounce it so I can get what y'all have. Like, that's how people think. America is literally, if not the greatest, one of the greatest nations on earth, period. Now is the greatest. So when we are complaining and we're going off, people are looking at us like, they hope we do it because they want us to get tricked out of our spot. That's what people want, so they can get it. Let's keep it a bug. That's what's happening.
It's saying that these illegal people who come in this country that take opportunities from Americans is wrong.
Lois?
Well, the way that I feel about this country is we're all illegals in this country.
No, we're not.
Yes,
What?
we are. No.
This is what I'm saying. That type of mindset will get you tricked out of your spot. Like, people want you to think like that. So they be like, yeah, sure. you should probably leave. Yeah, sure. That's how people think. What do you mean we're all illegals in this country? No, we're not. No, we're not. Why would you even say that? That's not true.
First of all, I knew it'd be controversial. I knew it was going to be controversial to say that. I do believe that black people built this country for free. I do believe that. But I also believe that we're all on stolen land. This is not our country. It's not. And so, because
whose country?
Native Americans.
Who? Which one? Which tribe?
I don't know which tribe.
The one who killed them to get them to kill the other ones to kill the other ones.
Listen, Listen, let me say this. Do I believe that America has an immigration problem? Absolutely. I'll be the first person to say that. I don't believe any president, Democrat, Republican, has gotten it right. I think it's really a real challenge in this country.
Do you believe, Crystal, that our immigration problem is disenfranchising blacks?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't think it is.
All right.
I reject the premise that quote unquote illegal immigrants are taking jobs away from black people. I reject.
What? Oh my goodness. She just said she doesn't believe that people who are coming into the country illegally, who aren't paying taxes, who aren't doing anything that the citizens are doing, aren't taking jobs. Let's talk about it. Let's say as a black person, you charge $10,000 for a job because you know you got to pay your land tax, you got to pay your rent, you got to pay your federal tax. Whereas an illegal immigrant can charge $5,000 for that job because they don't have to pay their land tax, they don't have to pay their federal tax, they don't have to pay anything. They just get the money, but you have to charge more so you can pay like your dues to the country. So who you think somebody's going to choose? They're going to choose the person who charges $5,000 rather than $10,000 because they know that job is cheaper. That's taking a job. When you don't have to pay these taxes and you don't have to pay these land fees and you don't have to pay these contracting fees to uphold the law, you're able to charge less because you're not going by the law because you're an illegal immigrant. That's what's happening. That's taking jobs. I don't even know what better way to explain it. Like I'm a little shocked that you really can't comprehend this.
Take that premise.
Okay, we're going to go to solutions.
How do we do that? Stop focusing on the past, stop blaming other people, and let's come together. Let me finish.
The past is a precursor.
Let's start making sure that we hit these pillars as a community. Let's start marrying these young women and staying at home and taking care of your responsibilities as a man. Let's start building wealth together. Instead of going and banking with Chase Bank, somebody go bank with a black bank. For all these people who have
me the
all
black
this
bank
money
to bank
together,
with.
how we can't come together and start pursuing black excellence. Instead of supporting illegal immigration, let's support our people right here in New York. Instead of putting these people up in a hotel, paying for them to eat, giving them access, giving them free medical insurance, let's do that for the black people who are struggling right here in New York.
And this is when we be getting tricked out of our spot, bro. We be getting tricked out of our spot, man. I don't even know what else to say. Obviously, what he said is he has a lot of wisdom in what he's saying. But yeah, anyways, you have any more suggestions for me, comment down below. That was my Jojo.